Music at DePaul University, and I started what grew into the Greencastle Summer Music Festival back in 2005, and so welcome to our 6th concert of our 20th season. I want to thank everybody who makes the concerts possible. We are like entirely self-funded. Well, we have an endowment at the Putnam County Community Foundation. The majority of our income comes from donations that people make at concerts, and all the individuals who see on the back, and even the endowment that we have was all donated by people who came to the concerts. Tonight's concert has been made possible by a gift from Bill and Lucy Whelan. Would you stand up just so we can... And Bill and Lucy have been lifelong, well, not lifelong friends, but since 1988, very close friends, and Bill was my pastor for many years, and one of the most wonderful counselors and mentors that I've ever known. Also a wonderful improvisation partner from time to time, and so I'm thrilled to be here. Tonight, we're celebrating teachers and the passing on from generation to generation of knowledge and skills in kind of like energy fields. If you are a teacher or are retired from teaching, would you raise your hand? I just want to, let's just hear it. Look at all, okay, let's hear it for all the teachers, So I'm going to be telling some stories about some of my teachers, and I'm just going to start with the chair that's here on the stage. So, and also the album cover that is on the music stand here, and at intermission, you're welcome to come up and look at both. In 1971, when I was 13 years old, I went to hear the Detroit Symphony, and Leonard Rose, the great American cellist, he was the first American-born solo cellist to have an international career, played with the Detroit Symphony, and I was absolutely mesmerized by this. It was, to me, I didn't know you could do that. And I still have, it's like a video in my imagination that I have watched for years when I'm practicing. Okay, I want it to look like Mr. Rose looked back in 1971 with the Detroit Symphony. And at intermission, I got to go backstage with a friend, and I had this album of the Saint-Saëns Cello Concerto, one of the pieces that I'm going to be playing tonight with the Laura Brumbaugh Philharmonic, since the Detroit Symphony was not within our budget. Okay. And Mr. Rose autographed this album for me, and he wrote, "Hello, fellow sufferers. Greetings, Leonard Rose." And I thought, that's the strangest thing I ever heard. How could Leonard Rose, it's like the Wizard of Oz, Leonard Rose is Leonard Rose. What could he possibly have to suffer about, especially when talking to young cellists? And then later on, I had the privilege of studying with him and found out he had just tremendous anxiety before concerts. And every adult professional musician I've ever told this story to just has nodded in recognition. I too get a lot of anxiety before concerts. And so I just wanted to tell you, I just want to make sure, if I don't play perfectly, will you still like me? Yeah, okay, great, thank you. Okay, great. Okay, now we can just have fun. All right, so the chair here, later that year, my family moved to Tampa, and Mr. Rose came and played with what was then called the Gulf Coast Symphony. One of the cellists in the orchestra, Hortense Ramsey, who was married to the orchestra manager, and they would bring one of their dining room chairs for the cello soloists to sit on, and then have them autograph the underside of the chair. And this chair was autographed on, I believe, December 2nd, 1971 by Leonard Rose. With thank you for providing this wonderful chair for my rear end. Greetings, Leonard Rose. And it's also signed by the great cellist Pierre Fournier, and the Ramseys left me this chair and a companion chair. And for years I had it in my teaching studio at DePaul. I came to like having a slightly higher chair, but for this concert, I wanted to use this chair as we talk about, you know, the Ramseys are just wonderful supporters of me. So I'll talk a little bit more about Mr. Rose and other teachers, but first I'll play some music. I'm going to play the Prelude from Bach's Suite No. 1 in G major, the piece that everybody plays and which my grandson watches numerous times a day. He's almost 3. He loves to watch Yo-Yo Ma play this, and when we get on FaceTime, I play this for Andrew. So this is for Andrew, who's watching the live stream, and for all of you. Thank you very much. And Andrew, I hope you like that and are still watching. Okay, so the album that I had under Rose signed, I think I mentioned, was the Saint-Saëns Cello Concerto. So I went, oh my gosh, I was just so in love with that piece and thought it was so fantastic. And when we moved to Tampa, when I was 13, there was this incredible cello teacher named Nelson Cook, who had been the principal cellist of the London Symphony and had studied with Pablo Casals, the great cello revolutionary. And he taught me that piece and would tell me about his lessons with Pablo Casals and how many people would play the first 8 notes slurred together, but Casals was very insistent about playing 3 notes slurred and then separating the bow. And to have this kind of sense of this great legendary cellist, Pablo Casals, having passed on something to Nelson Cook, who passed it on to me, and then I pass it on to my students, is just an incredible thing. Nelson Kubo also gave me my first crack at the Saint-Saëns Cello Concerto, which I was not ready for. And I don't know if he did it because he didn't know better, because he didn't do a lot of 13-year-olds, or he could tell that I was going to do it anyway, and he wanted to keep me from doing too much damage to myself, which is entirely possible. Later on, I went for my last 2 years of high school, my first year of college at the North Carolina School of the Arts, where my second cello teacher there, Denis Brott, just an extraordinary cellist with an international career. He won the Munich competition. He'd been the teaching assistant for the legendary Russian cellist Gregor Piatigorsky at USC. And the last piece, the last year I was working with Denis, we worked on this Saint-Saëns Cello Concerto in incredible detail. And Denis was so full of ideas and approaches to making music that Mr. Piatigorsky had given him. And so it was almost like I was having lessons with Gregor Piatigorsky. It was, and Denis was such a wonderful, encouraging figure that he, even though he's only 7 years older than me, he became like a second father to me. And I really became like part of his family. It was just a great thing. And when Denis decided to leave the North Carolina School of the Arts, I didn't know what I was going to do. Denis said, well, just tell me where you want to go to school, because he wasn't going to be teaching. He was taking a year off to prepare to go to the Tchaikovsky competition, and I'll make some calls. And I thought, well, I think I'd like to go study with Leonard Rose at the Juilliard School. And he said, okay, hold on. And then a couple of days later, he said, okay, here's Leonard Rose's telephone number. The most scared I ever was in my life was picking up the phone. I just remember sitting in my parents' living room with them there, like for oral support, dialing Leonard Rose's phone number, and arranged to go play for him at his home. And this was like in late spring. And then he said, then you also have to audition for Juilliard in the fall. So I went to his house, and I played the Saint-Saëns Cello Concerto for him. And that's also the piece that I used for my audition at Juilliard. And I will tell you more about this, but I think now let's hear the Saint-Saëns Cello Concerto. It takes about 19, 20 minutes. There's 3 movements, but there's no break, so you just see dashes between movements. And now, please welcome, I think this is your first time playing on the Greencastle Summer Music Festival. Wonderful pianist, my former DePaul colleague, Laura Brumbaugh. We'll take a 10-minute intermission. I am not going to mingle much during intermission. I'm going to go meditate a little bit. You are welcome to come up and look at the Leonard Rose autographed album, the backside of it anyway. And Matt is going to take a chair and turn the Leonard Rose and Pierre Fournier autographed chair upside down, if you would like to look at them. And meanwhile, talk amongst yourselves. I'll give you a topic. Who are the teachers who made a big difference in your life? See you at 8:15. Okay, we are ready to start the second half. So that very first concert that I heard with Mr. Rose, he played the Elgar Cello Concerto. And the genesis of this concert was that I have a high school student working on the Saint-Saëns Concerto and another one working on the Elgar Concerto, and I'm always telling them about their cello grandparents and great-grandparents. And since all my former teachers, except for Dennis, have passed away, also your cello guardian angels. And I will say to one of them in particular, your cello guardian angels are telling me to make you practice your scales, which I do. Anyway, so when I went to Juilliard, the big piece I studied with Mr. Rose, the 1 year I was there, because I transferred, actually, turned out I didn't like studying with him that much, but was the Elgar Concerto, and it just hit me. There's this great circularity, and I heard him play the Elgar Concerto in 1971, 1977, 78. I studied with him, and it was composed for his teacher, Felix Salmond, who did the first performance. And actually, Mr. Rose had most of the lessons of his students taught by a wonderful teacher named Channing Robbins, who had also studied with Felix Salmond. So there's this legacy of Elgar composing this piece for Felix Salmond, who taught it to Leonard Rose, who taught it along with Mr. Robbins to me, and then I teach my students different groups, but this piece, as somebody mentioned to me, was made famous. It was kind of like, well, it's okay. It's how people related to it until the 1960s, when Jacqueline Dupre, the great British cellist, whose career was tragically cut short by multiple sclerosis, started performing it with a kind of passion that nobody had, experienced before. And as I've now been playing this piece, because I learned it when I was 16, and I first learned when I was 16, and I'm about to turn 66. So I've spent 50 years listening to and thinking about this piece. Elgar was the last major piece that Elgar wrote right after World War II, in 1919. And World War I was just so horrible. The first time with chemical weapons used in a war. And it's very elegiac. The opening is dramatic and powerful, and while there is this really scampering, light second movement, much of the rest of the piece is very dramatic. And it ends with a final section that is just a cry from the heart, before he had the sense to put in a dramatic kicker to get another standing ovation with. And when Jacqueline Dupre played in the 1960s, it hit me the other day. It came after we found out about the Holocaust. It's during the Vietnam War, the Soviet takeover of Eastern Europe, all those things, they're just horrors. And I think the intensity that we heard in her playing kind of transformed the piece. And a lot of us relate to it as if it was a war requiem. And other people said it's not a war requiem. Anyway, I love it. It was such a privilege to study it with Mr. Rose. I don't think I've performed it since sometime in the 1990s, so I'm so glad to have the Brumbaugh Philharmonics here for Laura. It's just doing such a great job. Applaud for Laura, thank you. And enjoy the Elgar Cello Concerto. Oops, I just remembered. Next week, okay, Carrie Newcomer, the wonderful singer-songwriter, I'm going to get back in front of the camera where I think I'm supposed to be, is coming. We expect an overflow audience. Doors will actually literally be locked until 6:30. This is very professional. She's got things in her contract, like when the doors will open. And we could really use some extra ushers for that concert. So we will be having seating in all 3 balconies. We're bringing the folding chairs up from down in the basement, and Matt, our production manager, says it would be great if we could have 6 ushers. So if you would, and who would come like at 6 o'clock to have a meeting, and then we'll let the hordes of people, music lovers, in at 6:30. So if you'd like to do that, please come see Matt. Matt, can you stand up so people see who you are? Okay, after the concert. And now, the Elgar Concerto.
Thank you.